just the first hymn of the Rig Veda, because it is that Agni, which is that central topic, actually. You could say that's the starting. Aurobindo says it's the beginning and the end of the Veda is Agni, that flame. So for them, this is the medium. That will has the power to call the gods. So there is some faculty in us. You could say the Hatha Yoga, and that is your search is maybe still more outward and you don't know really what it is, then you have to just work with this only. But then people know there is that other hunger. No? They want what is knowledge, what is the meaning of life. That is actually much more easy to intuit when you give place to your own heart, no? That space. And in the modern life, no, people have to function. We have so much we have to function. I always feel from childhood onwards, we are taught to function. We are not taught to listen to our own inner, actually, anymore. And so this is very true in the modern Western society also. People are working and busy. So for them, the first thing, for them it is already a kind of total relief if they go into some kind of relaxation. And there are people, when they do total relaxation, they say you are now in that samadhi state, and they call it transcendent, which is total nonsense, excuse me for myself. That is not that, but it is a very good thing to be in peace. It's such a relief. So we need that. But then when we are in that peace, we have more space for that other to hear, that flame, that fire, which is in the guha, in the Veda. It is in the cave, it is hidden. It has to be kindled. It's difficult to choose what hymn first, but in a way, because there are 1,000 hymns in the Rig Veda, which are totally around 10,000 rigs, mantras, no? And most of the rigs in Gayatri, they would have 3 lines, but many have 4 lines in Trishtup, and also there are many combinations. There are basically 4 meters which are combined in so many ways that you have maybe 70 meters in the hymns. So some of them, they are 5 lines long. So imagine you have 10,000 verses, but some of them, they might have 5 lines. So you would come to 40,000-50,000 lines, which is the Rig Veda. And so the Agni, from the 1,000 hymns, there are around 200 to Agni and to Indra, the main hymn, most hymns. And so what to choose? So even I choose the opening hymn. And also there is a very early commentary by Sri Aurobindo. It will also be here, but on your paper, where he is commenting just on the first words in that first mantra. And I noticed this many traditions, in a way, they have done that. They will say as if this is, some of them they try to give you with this first verse the whole gist of the Rig Veda. For me personally, I like the hymn because it gives to you like a kind of overview what Agni can be for us. Poetically, I never got so much at ease with it than with other meters. I don't know why, but still I would like to recite it first, the whole hymn. It's not very long, and it's in Gayatri, which is quite short. And then we'll go through it one by one. So maybe just first listen to the poetry, and then we go through it together and even recite it together. So it's also good because what happens, modern man is mainly visual, but also what about the hearing? No? Agnim ile purohitam yajnasya devam rudvijam hotaram ratnadhatamam agnif purvebhir rishibhir idio nutanair uttha Sa devang eha vakshati Agni narayim ashnavat Posham iva dive Yashasam viravattamam Agni yam yajnam atvaram Vishvataf paripur asi Sa id deveshu gacchati Agnirhota kavikratuh sadyash chitrashravastamah devo devebhir agamat yadangada shushe tuam agne bhadram karishyasi tavet tat satyam angirah upadvagne dive Dosha vastar diyavayam Namo Bharanta Emasi. Rajantam Advaranam Gopamritasya Didivim Vartamanam Suedami. Sanaf Piteva Sunavi Agne Supayano Bhava Sajasvanach Suastaye. So what we usually do in our weekly classes here, we read the English translation first of Sri Aurobindo, so we have an overview of what is the content. Then we go through step by step. So maybe we do it today also. So when you look at the text, when you go to the bottom, we go to the introduction after. If you go to the bottom, there will be the Rishi. Rishi name is Madhuchanda Vaishvamitra. So he is the son of Vishwamitra. But he is not coming, like I mentioned before, in the book of Vishwamitra. Interestingly, he comes in the first book of the Rig Veda, which has so many rishis. And the Devata is Agni, and the Chandach, the rhythm, is Gayatri. So we start, then there will be the Devanagari text, then we will have the metrical restored text. It's called, we will go into this later, and then we will have Sri Aurobindo's translation. So let's start with Sri Aurobindo's translations and go through all the, how many mantras? 9 in English. Would you like to start to read the first one of Sri Aurobindo's? On the bottom, I adore.
I adore the flame, the vicar, the divine rhythmic of the sacrifice, the summoner who must
most.
ecstasy.
Yes.
The flame adorable by the ancient sages is adorable too by the new. He brings here the gods.
Nice. Then would you like to go on? Number 3.
By the flame one enjoy the treasure that verily increases day by day, glorious, most full of hero power.
Yes.
O flame, pilgrim sacrifice on every side of which thou art is the enduring being that truly was known to God.
The flame, the summoner, the seer will, true and most full of richly varied listening, may he become a god with the gods.
O flame, the happy good which thou shalt create for the giver is that truth, and verily thine, O Angiras.
O thee, O flame, we day by day, in the night and in the light, come, carrying by our thought the obeisance.
To thee, who reignest over Aurokulteam sacrifices, luminous guardian of the truth, increasing in thy own home.
Therefore, be easy of access to us, as a father unto his son. Cling to us for our happy state.
So when we look at this, so he starts with Agni itself. So Agni he puts in bracket, you see Ag and Aj. That would be the two possibilities for him of the root of the name. So then he says Agni is the brilliant, the strong, the preeminent, he who moves, leads, drives, acts. So imagine that's what he sees in this Ag, because imagine Ag is even Agra. Agra in the front, you see. Even he relates it one time to Agamemnon, the Greek hero, So the Ag root, but also to Aj. Aj means it comes many times in the Rig Veda to drive, to move, you see. So he sees that, like, of course, even the physical fire, what is it? It always, it moves up, you see. But also that he leads it because he's called the Purohit. So we come to this. And then look how he explains it. So he sees Agni as a universal power. He sees him like the tapas, in Sat Chit Tapas Ananda. In this, or in the Puranic highest trinity of Sat, Tapas, and Jana, Lokas. So he says he's the power of tapas. He represents tapas. But he's also the indweller, of the fire, the soul, the spark, the Chaitya Purusha. So he is actually transcendent, universal, and individual. But he says he's like the Adhisthana divinity of our own soul spark. So when we, so to say, awake to our own soul, or call with our heart, it is actually he gets activated, he would say. In some letters, Aurobindo talks about it. But just to see, because when we read now, he says he is the flame, at once heat and light, force and self-possessing consciousness in the force. So you see, that's what he is always emphasizing, because according to Sri Aurobindo, on the higher plane, what he calls the supermental or the Vijnana, force and knowledge are one. Knowledge and will are one. Whereas on our plane, we are segregated. We still have Sat and Chit and Ananda, but all no more acting together. We have a joy which turns into pain, a life which dies, and the knowledge which is always fallible, to ignorance. So he says when we reach that higher plane, and that is where Agni comes from, so to say. So he is that will in us which is one with knowledge. So look how he calls it, force and self-possessing consciousness in the force. Because usually in our life is actually the force, nature is the force, and she does everything. But she does it, so to say, without knowing herself. He calls it like a somnambulist force, who does the works of a wisdom. It works subconscious. So in that way, there the force is one. So the Prakriti would be, so to say, the Para-Prakriti, the Supreme Shakti. So will with perfect revealing and intuitive knowledge in the will and its acts. So the seer will of the one and infinite divine conscious existence at work in the universe. So just imagine this sentence or these two, what a statement it is, what is all very compact, what all is there. And then, he goes to say the Rishi, and then in comma he puts seeker and finder of knowledge. Why he is putting that? Because he translates, like many scholars know, even the Shastris in Chennai I meet with, Rish means actually to rush, to run, to move. It's not the drish which lost the, some people will say it is from drishti and the d has been dropped. That would be, it is the seer. Everybody agrees Rishi is the seer, but basically it means actually searching, moving in the search for knowledge. That is the Rish, So seeker and finder of knowledge, that's what the Rishi, basically the root meaning of Rish means. Adores and seeks this divine seer will as the priest of the inner sacrifice by which man seeks the Godhead. He is the priest in the three chief functions of that divine priesthood, because that is so unique in the opening hymn of the Rig Veda already, that Agni, the fire, which the priests use in the ritual, is given himself the name of the priests which in the ritual use him. So I understand in that inner universal sense, Agni is all the functions of what the priests are doing. He is the priest. So you could say in the whole cosmos, he is the priest of the gods. So you could say maybe even he is that heat of tapas which creates the whole universe, all the suns and the stars and all the fires and things. He is in charge of them, so to say. But he is also in charge of that psychological power in us, of all the forms of fire in that sense. So that's always this universal approach. So meaning the rishis always see that fire in the cosmos and in the human and in the nature, but at the same time they will of course also see him beyond that, the origin from where he comes. So they are looking through all the lokas or all the koshas. And that's why when like in the earth, finally we have a human Purohit who is in charge, put in front of the sacrifice. But Agni is in front of the whole cosmic sacrifice, you see. The gods have put him there to bring, to call them in, to bring the light to them, so to say. Give them a possibility to come into the darkness, because Agni makes light in the darkness, so to say. So you can talk a lot about this symbolism of light and darkness. So literally, he is, as the divine seer will, he is the Purohit, which means placed in front, Purahita, that power which is placed in front of our consciousness to act for the human being. Replacing the fallible human will, this divine force, as soon as it is kindled, conducts the sacrifice. He leads it in its journey through the stages by which the sacrifice rises to the supramental divine consciousness. He is the vanguard and the front fighter in the battle of the divine with the undivine and the march of man to his goal. That's why Pura Eta, he goes in front, and Praneta, he leads in front. Then he goes on, so that would be his explanation of the Purohit, the one who is in charge, who guides. And then he is the Ritvik, because it comes from the root Ij. Ij, to sacrifice, is the weak form. Ritu, Ij means to sacrifice in the season. He's the season sacrifice. He knows the right timing, so to say. So the seer will is the Ritvik. He sacrifices in the order, the right seasons, the right periods. And even here Sri Aurobindo uses the Vedic symbolic imageries, the 12 months, the 100 years of the sacrificial session. He knows the time, place, order by which the Swadha. So here we come to two terms of the sacrifice, Swadha and Swaha. Swadha is the offering to the fathers, and Swaha to the gods. And look how he translates it, Swadha, because Swadha means self-holding, self-sustaining. So he says the self-arranging, self-movement of the divine nature in man that is developing itself progresses till it turns itself into the Swaha, the luminous self-force of the fulfilled divine nature of the gods. So as the fathers relate to the nature, because they are in charge of the evolution, the rishis, you see. Now that is usually the idea behind this, the Angirasa rishis, because they find the light in the darkness, in the nature, in the unconscious, in the subconscious. This order of the sacrificial seasons is called Ritu, and represents the progressive movement of development of the hidden truths of things in man. So that was the second function, the one who is in charge, the fire, the will who leads, and he also knows the seasons, the right timings, how to do things. Because that season is also psychological, not to do the right thing at the wrong time. And then he is called the Hotri, you see, usually the one who calls the gods. The seer will is also the Hota, the power that brings the divine powers into the physical consciousness of man by his flaming force in the revealed word. So Sri Aurobindo adds the revealed word because he is calling the gods through the mantra, so the speech. Manifests and forms them there and offers to them the whole activity of the being as a sacrifice of the lower human to the higher divine. The result of this progressive action is the divine delight or ecstasy, the ananda of the infinite and divine consciousness brought into man, there established, held, expanding till it possesses the whole being and occupies all the energies. That is already, he relates now in our Rig. Now we have Agnim Ile Purohitam, Yajnasya Devam Rutwijam, Hotaram, Ratnadhatamam. So Ratna is that, later it means jewel, that ecstasy, that special thing. And Ta means to hold it, establish, and Tama means most, superlative. He is the best or the supreme establisher of that Ratna. So then Sri Aurobindo goes here into some root meanings. You see how he interprets these terms. This delight is represented as the wealth of the divine existence by the words Rais, because it means also riches, Radhas, Ra and Ratna. And those who know some Sanskrit, even in the classical language, still the root, when you learn the root Ra, that means Rasva, he is giving. It means giving, but also I remember it is always emphasized, it means also shining. I think about the English word like radiance, or the sun god of the Egypt, Ra. So Ra, or even Raja, the king, radiating, shining out. And this radiation is like a wealth, it is also like a total rulership which gives, it's not a domination, it's a giving oneself. And from there, Sri Aurobindo, he defines these terms in his own way here. So each has a different connotation. Rais is simply the accumulation of the riches, the mess of the felicity. Radhas, its riches as affecting the mental, emotional heart consciousness, its vital and sensible abundance. So I'm always thinking here of course, about Radha, Krishna's chosen gopi. She is Radha. So in the Veda, Radhas means that completion, that fullness, that treasure of light. It's a kind of a perfect state, which Radha symbolizes. Ra is the bliss, the higher joy of these riches, more than mental in its touch on man. Ratna is pure ecstasy of the Ananda. And that you see, for example, if you take some other scholars' translation, they will say the wealth or something they will say. Sri Aurobindo always puts for Ratna ecstasy. For him it is the divine ecstasy. This last aspect, as it is the culmination of the Vedic Vedas, the finding conscious possession of the divine, is rightly put here in front in the first trick of the Veda. So the seer will is the first means, the ananda of the divine riches, the ultimate aim and last achievement of the Vedic yoga. So that is just like his summary of the first trick, as if these different names which the fire is called. He is the Purohit in front, he is the leader in front, who is in charge. And that Sri Aurobindo says that is the will who has knowledge. So you have to put your inner leader in charge, your fire, your hunger for the truth, for the light. In his yoga, he would say the psychic being has to come in front. He even goes so far and to say whatever experiences you have in spiritual realization, if that has not happened, he says, my yoga is not really done. So he would say, to change the human life and the nature in our ordinary setup, we need that inner leader to come out in front. And then, of course, so as I say, if he is in front, then he knows the right things, to do the right thing, the right time. And he is the real Hotri. He has a voice, because his voice is the truth. And to him, so to say, what that voice speaks, the gods will answer. So the lights, our higher consciousness will respond to this, because there is a kind of conformity with it. And then finally he establishes that Ratna, that total fulfillment. So it's like a summary, you could say, this first mantra. Usually what I do, you see the Gayatri, it has 3 times 8 syllables, so I stop after one pada. So I will recite Agnim Ile Purohitam. Right, and now you see why I'm doing Agnim, because this is the Udatta, this is the accent of the word. Agnim Ile Purohitam. You did it well, you followed my pronunciation in the hearing. So this is called the Vedic accent. So they were trying to, there was a system to show how do you pronounce the word. Do you say Agni or Agni? No, it is not Agni, it is Agni. And this Udatta and Svarita, these signs below and above show that. And so I am following that to pronounce the accented word. So just one more time for that. Agnim ile purohitam.
Agnim ile purohitam.
Yajnasya devam ritvijam.
Yajnasya devam ritvijam.
Here it's difficult, ritvijam. Even metrically, it's not easy where to separate it. Yajnasya devam ritvijam. So I don't want to break the deva. So I go on Yajnasya devam ritvijam. Right. Because you see, this is more analytical text. It puts the viram after devam and the re separate, but actually in the speech they will be just joined. Deva, Devam Rudvijam. Devam Rudvijam. Hotaram Ratnadhatamam.
Hotaram Rat.
Because the difference is, you see, when the Hotaram is written with the Bindu, the it has a long matra. It is stressed long. That will help in the meter and the rhythm to extend it. So, Agnim ile purohitam.
Agnim ile purohitam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Nice. Agnim ile purohitam.
Agnim ile purohitam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Nice. Agnim ile purohitam.
Agnim ile purohitam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Nice. So if some of you is sure to do it without me, you can also do it. Otherwise, I'll give you the introduction. So it's always tricky where to put the emphasis, because, there is this is called the stress of the meter, but the accent is different. So can you imagine how complex it is? It is not easy as a poetry, very difficult. Long syllable, short syllables, meaning, sound. So that's why they made it into a very fixed system, mechanical, because those who learn it to recite it, they don't learn any meaning. They learn a melody to show it, just like that. They do it mechanically, just to keep it what it is. Because actually, if we would do it mentally with knowledge, we would actually change it during the centuries. We would have twisted it. So they do deliberately, they don't know anything about it, so to say. Then they keep it purer in that sense. Because it's difficult, like you could say, Hotaram, ho has the accent and it is long, it is already heavy syllable. But ta is also heavy syllable, but it has no accent. So I tend to say hota because it's also long, but how can I say hota? Not ta is not accented. There's a difference between accent, which is a sound in your speech, and a stress in the meter, you see. But here both are stressed, so to say, but only one has the accent, the ho. It's not hotaram, it is hotaram, ratnadhatam. So it's very complex. It's not an easy thing. So we'll go on. You go on. Agnim ile purohitam.
Agnim ile purohitam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Good. Agnim ile purohitam.
Agnim ile purohitam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Right. Right, ratnadhatamam. Agnim ile purohitam.
Agnim ile purohitam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Yajnasya devam ridvijam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Hotaram ratnadhatamam.
Nice. The pity is this hymn is not so easy in poetry, but so we'll do later something with Saraswati. Will be maybe easier. But as I say, I wanted to use this hymn just as the introduction when we go through. So now we go to the second verse. I will recite it in Sanskrit and then we can see the English again. Agnif purvebhir rishibhir idyo nutanair uttha sa devang eha vakshati. So the flame adorable by the ancient sages is adorable too by the new. he brings here the gods. So this is quite, yes?
Deva, that's a new syllable.
Oh, Devan, right. This is just what happens because it is Devan, but because of a vowel follows, it gets nasalized. So that shows that you pronounce it more like Devan. You put the n to the Devan. Almost either you don't speak it or you say Devan, Devan, because of the next vowel, which is A. If it would be a consonant, it would be just Devan, the accusative plural. Yes.
So because the next vowel is the A, that's why...
Because the vowel follows. Because of a vowel, it is the n becomes nasalized, which means it becomes...
So that's, the nasalization is represented through this?
Through this, right, right. So they do different, but usually it is the Aurobindo, that thing, which shows it is nasalized. So when you go through it, so Agni, this is then in passive, Purve Bir, by the ancients, Rishis, the Rishi Bir, by the ancient Rishis, Idio, and that's interesting. Now the same word comes as a passive participle, that il root. First we had ile, because E and A was after and before. But now it is coming, the ya comes after the il, it is pronounced as a d. Here it is ide, idia. Idio, but da, you see that cerebral da, but it's no more pronounced as la. So idia means he is to be adored. Like before he says, I am adoring him, I desire him, I want him. Now he says, by the ancient seers and by the new one, he is to be wanted, he is to be liked. And then sa, why? Because sa, he, devan, the gods, eha. So eha means a, iha. This is joined. A and iha becomes eha. A is from vakshati. Vakshati is also a Vedic form of vahati. So he brings, he carries. But A means he carries here the gods. So he has that power, what he calls, when he calls these lights, they will emerge in us. You can conceive it as they come to us or they arise in us, they manifest in us. But that is the emphasis, you see, because he says, Iha. They will say that many times in the hymns, here. And maybe I don't know if you noticed this, because that A would be in front of Iha. It is not attached to the verb. In classical Sanskrit, the rule is that any preposition, A, Vi, and so on, is attached to the verb itself. So you would have to say avahati. In the Veda, that A can be at any other place. So the preposition can stand free in the syntax. It is not attached to the verbal form directly. So you can say A, and then you will say, like here, Iha, or the name, and then you say Vakshati. Although A relates to Vakshati. So Sri Aurobindo says, because the prepositions, even these sounds, A, Vi, Uppa, they were like almost meaning, they had a power of themselves in the meaning. They can even come without a verb. So that means you have to really go into the literal meaning of that sound, because it carries its own meaning. So it can stand anywhere in the syntax, in the sentence. It's not attached to the verb. So that's how I would pronounce it. Idio nutanair uta.
Idio nutanair uta.
Sa devan eha vakshati.
Sa devan eha vakshati.
Next one. Agnif purvebhir rishibhir.
Agnif purvebhir rishibhir.
Idio nutanair uta.
Idio nutanair uta.
Sa devan eha vakshati.
Sa devan eha vakshati.
Agnif purvebhir rishibhir.
Agni purvebhir rishibhir.
Idio nutanair uta.
Idio nutanair uta.
Sa devan eha vakshati.
Sa devam eha vakshati.
Nice. Agnif purvebhir rishibhir.
Agnif purvebhir rishibhir.
Idio nutanair uta.
Idio Nutanairavata
Sa Devam Eha Vakshati.
Sadevam Eha Vakshati.
Agnif Purvebhir Rishibhir
Agni Purvabhir Rishibhir
Idio Nutanair Uta
Idio Nut Ner Uta
Sa Devam Eha Vakshati.
Sadevam Eha Vakshati.
Agnif Purvebhir Rishibhir
Agni Purve Rishibhir.
Idio Nutanair Uta.
Idio. Yes, positive. How is it?
Idio, right?
Idio. Nutanai.
Sa Devam Eha Vakshati.
Sadevam Eka.
Agnif Purvebhir Rishibhir
Agni Purvebhir Rishibhir
Idio Nutanair Uta.
Idio Nutanai Uta
Sa Devam Eha Vakshati.
Sadevam Eha Vakshati.
Agnif Purvebhir Rishibhir
Agnif Purve Rishibhir
Idio Nutanair Uta.
Idio Nutanairavata
Sa Devam Eha Vakshati.
Sadevam Eha Vakshati.
Agnif Purvebhir Rishibhir Idio Nutaneruta Sadevam Vakshati.
Yes, so the interesting thing is, you see the A and the Ha both have the udatta. So because both are accented. A, I, Iha. So here indeed, A, Eha, so Eha, Sa, Devang, Eha, Vakshati. Which is very, what happens, because it's the poet and he creates effects, and that's so difficult because you feel when you recite it gradually you get into this flow, but here it is like a contrary flow. It takes you out, so to say. And nobody actually can preserve such a poetry. That's why you have to mechanize it, so to say, and to learn it by heart and pass it on. But when we recite it, this will all come out, and actually it creates something in our being. It's because that's what Aurobindo, of course, also said. When you say meaning, is it important? Of course, Aurobindo says in the poetry, the rhythm is as much important also. So there is what you say, the sound, there is the content of the thought, but there is that meter, which you mentioned is like chariots of the gods. So that will take some time to get into it. Especially now, because if we cut it apart into 8, 8, 8, we don't get into the flow of the whole pada. But we can do it one more time afterwards, the whole. So we go to the next. Agnina Rayim Ashnavat Posham Iva Dive Dive Yashasam Viravattamam. By the flame one enjoys the treasure that verily increases day by day, glorious, most full of hero power. So I'm just looking, we have started with Agnim, which is what is called the accusative case, the object. The next one, Agni, is the subject, the first case. Now we are at the instrumental. It's by Agni, Agnina, Rayim Ashnavat, Posham Eva. So through Agni, Rayim, that dwells, Ashnavat, one will get or enjoy, which is Posham, it will nourish. Eva, indeed, Dive, Dive, day by day. So through that fire, we will get a richness, a radiance of wealth, of inner wealth, I would say, of light, which increases day by day. And what is that Rayim, which is also Posha? It is Yashasam and Viravattamam. So Yashas, we know, Aurobindo even sometimes takes it as victorious. Usually Yashas, we know it as brilliance. They will take it as famous, but it is why is that person famous? Because he's bright or brilliant. There is some quality in that. So that Yashas, but it's also Viravat. So this is a term which the Veda uses all the time. You need this hero force, the Virya. This comes like in the Taittiriya Upanishad still when they say Sahanavavatu, Sahanau Punaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavaditam Astu. So we should create that virya, and then our study, Adita, will be Tejas. So that is the idea in the Veda. You need that vital power to have really a brilliant mind. If you dry yourself up, and don't develop your energies, your prana, your mind cannot become as luminous either. So there's a connection. So for them it's always light and force. That's what we need ourselves too. As if when we want to recreate these divine qualities in us, we have to have both. So Viravattamam, so most rich in Vira. And Aurobindo usually translates it as heroic force. But it's also in English, vigor, in the deepest sense. So that means, but you see here it is given, these are the qualities of that flame. And if we, through him we will attain that qualities. So of course, when that fire grows in me, you see, so I will become the fire. That's why Vishwamitra in one hymn says, I am the fire. Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Posham Iva Dive Dive.
Posham Iva Dive Dive.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Posham Iva Dive Dive.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Yashasam Viravattam.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Agnina Rayim Ashvavat.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Posham Ev Dive Dive.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Yashasa Virvattamam.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Posham Iva Dive Dive.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Agnina Rayim Ashnavat.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Posham Eva Dive Dive.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Yashasam Viravattamam.
Nice. So that is like his statement, when you say, for what is the Veda, why is he invoking that fire, So he is actually telling now, about the qualities of this fire, And he says like every rishi from the past and the present should invoke him because he brings here the gods, the powers of the light, of the consciousness, of the knowledge, Because for them, we are living in the night, in the ignorance, in the darkness. So there is that symbol, you could say, as if there is the night heaven. We are in the darkness, and the light has to be created. And before the dawn will come, the Divine Mother and the Sun, that would be in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, that Vijnanam, that transcendent consciousness of the truth. In that light, there has to be, in the night, the light has to grow. And that would be Agni. He creates the light, so to say, in the night, until it leads to the dawn symbolically, The dawn would be already the ascent of the higher consciousness descending, so to say, in this symbolism. So meaning I take the Agni usually always, he's kindled in the dark. I would take it really in that sense. It is the light which shines out in the darkness. But even, of course, he can become himself the sun and all that later on. So now we come to the first time, and that's typical in the hymns, he talks about the fire, but usually always at some point he talks to the fire. Now he talks in direct speech. Agni yam yajnam advaram vishvataf paripur asi said diveshu gachati. O flame, the pilgrim sacrifice on every side of which thou art with the environing being, that truly goes among the gods. So the yajna is also called advara. In that hymn, you can already take another look. Maybe I write it as there. In the international translation, it will be useful. Because in this very first mantra hymn, it is coming Advara Yajnam. But later on, Advara is a synonym of the sacrifice. And Sri Aurobindo says, so how could that be? And for example, one traditional interpretation is Dvara. Dvara means to deviate, to break apart or something. So it is not deviating. But Sri Aurobindo says this could never become a synonym for an important term like yajna, the sacrifice, the cosmic ritual. Because yaj is, I always feel it is like yoga, yuj. Yuj means to join, to yoke, to unite, to apply yourself, but even to unite. So yaj, I always take it in the sense also of contact, of communication. Because what is the yajna? It is an exchange. It is, you are giving, and through that giving you are receiving. And Agni is actually that medium for that, So in that way, you say that which is unharmed or unhurt. Sri Aurobindo says it means rather, he calls it the pilgrim sacrifice, as the traveling. It's a succession, it's a journey. And I'm always reminded, maybe I'm wrong, but you see what I write here? Do you see? And there is another Sanskrit word, by the way, in classical also, which is Advan. Advan means a path. So Sri Aurobindo would say Advara must be related to this term, the path. And in English, can you hear it? Advance. It could be the same root even in English, because it is quite obvious that these ancient languages, most of the languages on this globe are connected. They come from one common origin, from one common stock. I feel this all the time in German and in English when I translate from the Sanskrit. So there are many instances where you feel. So here I feel this fits very well, Advance and Advara. Some scholars translate it just as the ritual, but I take it, you can take it in two senses, because advance is what? It's a journey, but it's also a succession. Even if you do a puja, you do one thing to the next. Even though in the tradition there is so much fuss about this. So it's so important what comes first and what comes next. So there is a succession. But also in the sky, in the cosmos, there is the first day of the new moon, the second day, or there is, the calendar and all. Everything goes in a certain cycle. So in that way, I feel advance fits much better. Advancing sacrifice, the progressive sacrifice. And because the sacrifice goes to certain periods, and of course it crosses day and night. So I take it in that way also very as a name for the spiritual path, for the growth, for the progress, so to say. A progression, you could say. So look what he says, Agni yam yajnam atvaram. So on which sacrifice which advances, which Vishvatah, from all sides paribur asi. You are asi the paribur, which is a term which comes many times in the Veda, but it comes also in the Upanishads. In the Isha Upanishads, they will say Kavi Manishi Swayambur Paribur. when the Lord, the self, manifests, he is encompassing everything. He goes around, he takes the whole world in his, so to say, the whole world is actually his movement out of himself and enveloping everything. And everything is held within, so to say, in that becoming of the Lord, Paripur. So here he says, surrounding, no? So that sacrifice which he is all over, from all sides he surrounds it. What does it really mean? No? If you take it as a ritual, you put something there and it should go to the sky, to the gods, and the fire takes it up. I always feel even such terminology fits very well psychologically also. You know? If you put your act totally in your flame, in your dedication, in your bhakti or in your aspiration, no? In that inner consciousness or in the awareness. No? So I feel that is also that. It's fully surrounded, you know, by that. The most conscious act is, so to say, done by that flame, actually. So one can take this in so many ways, and I feel even psychologically it's not more far-fetched to take it as a ritual sense, you know. Because I feel this language is like that. It's not fixed, it's very general. So he says that, you know, that sacrifice which you, what is that sacrifice? What is it? What is he doing? No? What are they referring to? So that, what is it? Is it one act of doing something at that very moment, maybe? I would be happy if that fire would surround me in every word which I speak, which I'm not able. Most of the time I speak, but I'm not really conscious. So that would be the Paribur. He is there at every minute when I move and speak. I am present, so to say. That is also the Paribur. So you can take it in so many ways. I feel the language is deliberately in the hymns many times, no, very open, very general. But again, that emphasis, no, like he says, he will bring here the gods, but also the sacrifice which he surrounds that will reach the gods. Because that is the difficulty in life also sometimes. No, we make an effort, but how to sustain it? Or we have a good mood or a good sensation, and we want to carry it through. Are we able to do it even one day from morning to evening, to have that attitude of action, you know? So you would feel when that fire burns, when that awareness is there, you know, that presence will be much more easy, possible. So just to say, it's a very simple language. O Agni, yam yajnam atvaram, which sacrifice, advancing sacrifice, Vishvata, from all around, no, you are surrounding it, you're penetrating it, so to say. Literally he says, you are the surrounder, no. Paripur is the name of him, the surrounding one, and Asi means you are that, no. So, and then Sa, that means that sacrifice, indeed, Sa id. So they use a lot of emphatic signs in the Veda, id here, Sa id, that really, truly. Deveshu, and also, you know, it goes, literally it is vocative, a locative case. It goes into the gods, so to say, you know. It goes not towards the gods. Devan, it says Deveshu. Then usually you can translate among the gods, but you can even take it literally. It goes into the gods. It enters that higher consciousness, that lights, you know, which are there. So we'll recite it. Agni yam yajnam advaram.
Agni yam yajnam advaram.
Vishvataf paripur asi.
Vishvataf paripur asi.
Sa id diveshu gacchati.
Sa id diveshu gacchati.
Agni yam yajnam advaram.
Yajnam advaram.
Vishvataf paripur asi.
Vishwada paripur asi.
Sa'id deveshu gacchati.
Sa'id deveshu gacchati.
Agni yam yajnam advaram.
Agni yam yajnam advaram.
Vishvataf paripur asi.
Vishwata paripura asi.
Sa'id deveshu gacchati.
Sa'id deveshu gacchati.
Agni yajnam advaram. Vishvata paripur asi. स इदु देवेषु गच्छति
Agneyam yajnam advaram.
Agneyam yajnam advaram.
Vishwatav paribhur asi.
Vishwata paribhur asi.
Sa id diveshu gacchati.
Sahid deveshu gacchati.
Agneyam yajnam advaram.
Agneyam yajnam advaram.
Vishwatav paribhur asi.
Vishwata paribhur asi.
Sa id deveshu gacchati.
Sa id deveshu gacchati.
Agneyam yajnam advaram.
Agneyam yajnam advaram.
Vishwatav paribhur asi.
Vishwata paribhur asi.
Sa id deveshu gacchati.
Sa id deveshu gacchati.
Agniyam yagnam advaram Vishwatav paribhur asi Said deveshu gacchati.
The interesting thing is now when you look at this accent, you really feel how spoken is the language if you follow it. He is really talking, like when we talk in O fire, that sacrifice of which you are, That, so meaning it's very emphatic, very outspoken. So then we go to number 5. So this is, for example, in the Secret of the Veda, where Sri Aurobindo takes up first the Veda itself to show is there any kind of psychological suggestions in the hymns themselves, that they are more than ritualistic or just dealing with nature gods. He starts exactly with this verse because he talks about the Kavi Kratu. He is the seer will and he is the truth. So I will recite it. Agnir hota Kavi Kratu Sadyash Chidrash Ravastamach Devo Devebhir Agamat. So the flame, the summoner, the seer will, true and most full of richly varied listening, may he come a god with the gods. So here he starts again. Agni is the Hotri, the invoker, but he is the Kavi Kratu. So even the modern scholars, they all agree that the word Kavi in the Veda does not only mean a poet, it means a seer, it means a rishi, like the rishi. And then, of course, with the Satya, they take it very casual, but here, of course, it's very emphatic. He is Satya. And Chitra Shravastamah. So his Shravas is most full of Chitra, most bright, various, rich. And Sri Aurobindo writes about this also when he says, are there certain terms which are very important which could have also an inner meaning? He especially talks about Shravas, because Shravas, he says, even the dictionary allows, because it is from the root to hear. So usually it's taken as fame. Shravas means fame, everybody then you think all the rishis wants to be famous, and the gods are all famous. So, of course, Sri Aurobindo says you can take it in that sense of Shruti. They have the hearing, they have the knowledge, So he has that inner inspiration, so he would take it in this sense. And he talks about it, his introduction. And when you go through the Rig Veda, and this term comes so many times, and when you look with the thought and the other context, you feel many times, if you give the meaning of hearing in that inspired sense, it makes much more meaning. It's much more consistent with the other text around it to imply this, that it is really that inner hearing, that bright inspiration. And then he says, Devo Devebhir Agamat. So as a god, he should come with the gods. So, but he already talks to him, then from where should he come? So that would be the question. Does he refer to the fire somewhere out in nature, or he is objectifying him, but now he says, may he come. So where should he come? Is it not interesting? You wonder what is happening in the mind of the rishi. So even if he would do a ritual, but then the fire is there, why he says the fire should come. Okay, with the gods, but still, if he is already there, before he said he should bring the gods. So meaning it's a very subtle thing to really go into depth there. I would feel then he should come to him. No? He should completely reveal himself in himself. So he can talk to him and have a vision of him, but he has to enter. He has to fully manifest. And you could say that manifestation could also be because the fire has that bright inspiration, that his own, that is, it has to manifest in himself. He has to get the knowledge, the growth, which would be all the presence of this fire in him. So in the first sukta, so I have chosen the first mantra of the Rig Veda, the opening. He will just say, Agnim ile purohitam, yajnasya devam vridvijam, hotaram ratnadhatamam. And even the root id, no, to wish, to desire, to long after, it will have many meanings. How you would translate it, to pray, to adore, to want. It is very open root. But whatever you say it, I adore or I desire the Agni as the one who is placed in front. No, that was the idea, that the fire is the Purohit. The roles which are later played out in the ritual, in the Veda already these roles are occupied by the God himself, which is already one has to think about it. Because maybe what I told you, the whole sacrifice is cosmic. And the fire, there is maybe the sun or something is in charge of this material system which we are watching in the sky. There is like a God who is managing this, or somebody the gods put there to manage it. And this power in nature, they will see behind some original power, which then they will say, how you manage this outer cosmic life, you also manage my life. Because there is the correspondence with the microcosmos and macrocosm. So I think that is also always there. That's why they might speak to somebody, the fire outside there or here on the altar, and then he will shift and talk to the fire in himself. And he call him maybe the perfect thinker, or the conscious knower, or the truth knower. So one has to always see this. This is natural to move, from the external to the internal, to the cosmic, the transcendent. Very natural. Aurobindo says this poetry is like a painting where all the colors are overshading, from the inner to the outer. So the point was that he asks Agni as the Purohit, as the leader of the sacrifice. And the sacrifice means the connecting with the Supreme. It is to come in touch with the cosmic, with the origin, so to say. To align yourself with the original consciousness. And Agni is the Ritvik. He knows the season. He sacrifices according to the seasons. So he knows the right times, when the time is ready for what kind of a act or prayer or connection you want to make. And at the same time, he is the Hotri, the caller. He has the power in his voice to call up the gods. So any true prayer will be answered. That's also a kind of cosmic rule. Even psychological people find gradually out. Every true call gets an answer in this cosmos. That is the cosmic yajna also. And then he is the Ratnadatamam. He is the best stabilizer or holder of the Ratna, which Aurobindo says for him, this is even the whole culmination of the Vedic yajna. Because the first step is to find the path of the truth. From the darkness, from the ignorance, from the crooked ways, you have to find a straight way which leads to the truth, which connects you, so to say, with the origin. And then if you are in touch with the truth, you will enjoy the ananda, the bliss. Because as long as if we are in this half-truth, in this ignorance, we know what it is. We are in the dualities of pleasure and pain. Our choice cannot last because they are mortal and based on ignorance, assumptions and relations. But if we realize in the consciousness the oneness of the truth, then also we can enjoy unalloyed bliss, even here in this body, so to say. Then in the second mantra, Agnif purve bhir rishi bhir idio nutanair utta sa devang eha vakshati. He says that fire is still to be aspired or to be worshipped or be called into yourself or called out of yourself, if you take him as your indweller, by the ancient rishis, Purvebhya rishi, but also by the new, Nutana. Even now, he can be called out. He is to be called actually, because he brings here the gods. Sadevang eha vakshati. So I would always say everything that is latent in us, all the powers which are latent in us, which we have not fully developed and grown to, the knowledge, the richness, these are the gods. They are waiting to be brought into our life. And then in the next mantra we had by Agni, Agnina Rayim Ashnavat Posham Eva Dive Dive Yashasam Vira Vattamam. Then he says, by Agni one enjoys or attains to a Rai, to a shining wealth that nourishes us, is Posham, every day, Dive Dive, day after day. And it is glorious, Yashas, and full of heroic energy, Viravattamam. One could almost dare, to say that now this wealth is nothing else than when the gods come. When all the lights are manifest in us, they can so express themselves in us. That is our wealth also. That becomes that radiance. I remember there was a German poet in this typical period where all the poets in England and Germany were active at about the time of Goethe, 1800, when Beethoven was there and these musicians. And they will say he has written poems about ancient Greece. No? So they have idealized ancient Greece like that. Like in India we would look back at the time of the rishis. So he says gods were walking on earth. So what does he mean when the poet says the gods were walking on earth? I feel they were expressed in the human beings. There were some great persons who had some kind of deeper life, inner life. They were in touch with some other plane of existence, with their inner being. And that's how the gods were walking on earth. I don't believe there was a different race which they call gods and all this kind of fancy speculation. To me, it's much more down to earth. It is something of that sort. Because for the Veda also this Vira I was mentioning, you need that glory and that Vira because you are not away from life. No? You are a rishi, and even in ancient times, they had family and they were active. So the rishi is not a recluse or a renunci. No? He is active in life. So for that you need this heroic energy. Then we come to the next number 4. Agni yam yajnam atvaram vishvataf paripur asi said deveshu kachati. Then you could say you can take your whole life as a sacrifice or also some particular period in your life. No, you can do some karma yoga or some yajna, I would say, but then he says this is called the Advara Yajna, the advancing sacrifice, the progressive sacrifice, what you're doing. O Agni, you are the paripur of that. From all sides you are surrounding it, You totally, encompass it, you embrace it. Meaning you sustain it, actually also. And in a way, paribu, every translator agrees, it means actually omnipresent. Bu means to become or exist, and pari all around. And so that which, if that power inside, so to say, penetrates all your acts, they will reach the gods. There is no question in that way. That movement will break through the ignorance, through the darkness. Then we come to number 5. which I was mentioning, Sri Aurobindo especially took up in the Secret of the Veda to show that there are also psychological terms, because for him kratu comes from the Greek word which specially relates not only to action but also to the willpower. Some even translate it as a kind of a spirit, mind or spirit. So Agnir hota kavi kratu sadyash chitra shravastamah devo devebhir agamat. Then he says again, now may he fully come and reveal himself with the gods. He himself is the God, and he is Satya, he is the true one. And he is the Kavi Kratu, the seer will. That's also interesting. Sri Aurobindo in his commentary on the Isha Upanishad, when they will say the Lord, they will give an expression after having said everything is the Brahman. The Brahman is, everywhere. And he who sees the self in all and all in the self, he will not shy away from anything anymore. But then he also says, Pari Agat, he has gone around. That is that Paribur. And then he gives expressions like he has no tissue, he is, deathless, bodiless, no scars. And in the second half of the line, he will say, Kavir Manishi, Paribu Swayambhu. So Sri Aurobindo says the first half relates the Purusha, the Ishvara, as the Atman. He is like deathless, bodiless, always free, nothing can scar him. But he is not only Atman, the Lord is also the manifester. He is in charge of the whole creation, and that's why he says he is the Kavi and the Manishi and the Swayambhu and the Paribur. But he says as Kavi, he is still in the Vijnana, what you call. He calls that the supramental knowledge, the perfect knowledge, where the truth is obvious. And as the Manishi, he is getting into this dividive level of the mind, where he has to reconstruct the knowledge. So when we start from our human situation, from the evolution upwards, growing out of the ignorance, we are the thinkers and we have to reconstruct things. But when we become that Kavi, we have reached that origin from where everything is, so to say, revealed. So, but meaning they acknowledge these different levels of reality in which we live, because the evolution goes on there. And you cannot, all at once, everybody cannot become the Kavi, so to say. So these are stages in the growth of the evolution.
So, my friends in Jainism, they say that people who know everything, they come to a stage.
Yes.
Is that what you think? Kavi?
That would be, I rather also think then there would be the Kavi stage. Yes. Then he becomes a kind of a Vishwavid. Right. I guess so. It would be that. Because the self is identity consciousness. The self is not wanting to know itself. It is itself. But when it wants to know itself, it becomes actually the Lord, the Ishvara. It's objectifying itself. It's exploring itself, so to say. That is usually the idea of Atma and Ishvara. Yes, in that sense, right. So he says he is the seer will and he is the truth, and he is Chitra Shravastama. He has a most bright and rich inspiration. That's what he wants to convey. Which makes again sense because he has that knowledge. Because the hearing in the ancient world is always the one who hears the Shruti, the Shruta. Satya Shrut is the name of the rishis, means you are in touch with the truth. You have the direct intuition of the truth. That's why the scriptures are called Shruti. Revealed scripture is called that which you heard. But obviously as an inspiration, as an inner hearing. So in that way, Agni has the most rich, variegated hearing, knowledge of everything, because he is that Kavi, right? So did we stop here at number 6, was it? So we go on now together. So
I would like to ask a small question.
Oh, please.
What is the difference between Shruti and Smriti?
That's a very good question, because I noticed sometimes Shruti, I would take it in the sense it's the direct hearing of the truth, and Smriti is the memory. So that means that which has been memorized and has come, so to say, from somebody else. And this is the direct intuition. But sometimes I notice smriti might even be taken also at some more original plane. But usually no, because even the smara is even taken just as thinking, not as just memorizing. So it depends how the term is used and what teaching. But usually smriti are the shruti are the revealed scriptures, and the smriti, is it not, you could say Puranas are smriti, but Gita and Upanishads and Veda are shruti. In that sense, I would say they are direct knowledge, That's why they call it also Apaurusheya. They have been, so to say, received. They are direct inspirations from the superhuman consciousness, I would call it, not non-human, And the smriti they are, so to say, more memories. They are, they have been passed on, so to say.
Someone like this knowledge to me is smriti, whereas I am getting intuitive knowledge.
Yes, maybe. That's a good point also. Maybe it's not absolute, but one could use these terms like that. So to say, as long as if you are only echoing what I say, my thought, it's not that. You should get the direct experience of it. That would be shruti. Yes.
There are like gurus, even now,
Yes.
50 years back. So, is this something which is all the time happening, or it's only been so many years ago? 3,000 years ago? I mean,
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Also there can be somebody who's getting...
Of course, because this plane to which this knowledge relates exists eternally, yes. It is a certain level of consciousness where the things are always revealed, so to say. There's a place of revelation from which it was received, and it took a certain language and coloring, which even though it seems to be very concrete, but it's also very universal, And this depends on the type we are. If we are very rational people, we want abstract language. If we are less rational, we like this language. But according to Sri Aurobindo, for example, he says the rational language is not the philosophy is written nowadays, is not the best vehicle. For him, the most direct vehicle is actually poetry. And he says the mystic experience is always concrete. So actually it wants to use concrete experience and not language and not abstract language, which is also very interesting. But of course you could say those who would tap that source now, they will explain it different. At the same time, my teacher was always telling the unique thing with the Veda is also what language is it actually using, basically the language of nature, which is universal, which is always with us since millions of years. You will have the tree and the river and the cloud and the sun and and the rain. So actually that's also very interesting, the movement of the time. So in that way it is also a universal language which veils and unveils the knowledge at the same time, according how you look at it. So in a way it is the best covering, some people say. This nature language is the best covering because it can be easily also talked to you as a revelation. But at the same time, of course, times change and nobody would expect that we should now create our own inspiration. We have to use this imagery. You might use something of it. Sri Aurobindo used quite something of it in the secret, in Savitri, but not at all. He goes much more into detail. He's much closer to our modern, going more expressive in a way, more easy for us expressive. But at the same time, he uses a lot also of this kind of. So what is the best vehicle for the universal to come through, right? Because he would say that's the higher mind or the intuitive mind. Even he believes there will be a step in the human evolution in the future, we will return to this plane. So he writes that in the course of English poetry, the poetry will come back to this mantric speech of the Veda one day, he says. So I'll go now. Yat angada shushe tuvam agne bhadram karishyasi tave tat satyam angira. So Sri Aurobindo translates, O flame, the happy good which thou shalt create for the giver is that truth, and verily thine, O Angiras. So anga is also very strange because it means like an emphatic, indeed, truly, but anga can also mean a limb or something, no? So nobody bothers to find out why is it using such a term, because the Veda uses many what you call emphatic terms. Maybe which means a limb, anga, that means totally, fully, in every detail. There could be something more. But so what he wants to say is, Dashushe is the one who gives, the Dash one, the one who gives anything, who apportions, distributes, the giver. And you, Tvam, O Agni, Bhatram Karishyasi, you will create the Bhatra for the one who gives. But then it's a relative sentence, you see, he says, Yad Anga, which good you are making for the giver, Tava it tat satyam Angira. So it's interesting. So he says, Tava it means of you indeed. It is that truth, So it's a very strange formula and in English very difficult. So it is that truth and verily thine, Sri Aurobindo translates. So to say it more simple, so the Rishi says, the good which you create for us, that Bhatram, it is your truth. Or you could say your truth is the mission of you, that the true purpose of you is to create that good. But you could also say that your truth is the Bhatra, because it's only what I said, through the truth you realize the best and the bliss and the highest. So you can take it in many ways. That would be like everybody who takes the Sanskrit syntax and reads it for himself. Yadangadashu shetuam Agne Bhadram Karishyasi Tave Tat Satyam Angira. It is also the truth of you, I would really say. So what he wants to say, you are creating the true joy, the delight, the best thing, the Bhatra, the supreme thing.
Angiras also in
Yes.
So two, are they two separate or is just same about Agni?
It's all Agni. That's all Agni. Yes. So he says, "O Agni," and then he ends. When he finished the sentence, he adds again another direct vocative case. "O Angiras." He names Agni just with a different name, right?
So Angiras, how is Agni Angiras?
Now look what I have written here, a comment on Angiras in one of the versions. Sri Aurobindo says, the 7 Angiras seers, sons of the flame, because Agni is in one hymn called the original, Pratama Angiras, and the 7 rishis are his sons, so to say, his fires. That's why also, when you look in the night sky, you would have the moon and you have the Saptarishi, or, so there will be, that thing is going on. So, and they discovered, says the Veda, that truth, the sun that was lodged in the darkness. The inconscient darkness is figured as the cave of the Panis. Indra and the Angiras seers enter and find the shining cause of the dawn herself, the day, the sun, the vision of knowledge, and men's path to immortality. This is the day said in the next hymn to be discovered or known by the adorers of Vayu. The name Angiras is given also to the gods as finders of the truth. So he relates to the Angirasa legend, because the Saptarishis are also called the Angiras. And the Veda is full of these hymns, especially with Indra, and also with Pramanaspati, with the speaker of the mantra. There is a cave which is covered by Vala. Vala means also wall, like in English, wall. In German we call it Wall. So they think it's a covering. Like Vritra is, Vritra is, so to say, covering, and Vala is a blockage, a wall. And both have to be destroyed. So I always find it very interesting also, because we looked at the hymn shortly. The Vritra is usually the dragon who is at the mountain, and he does not let the waters flow down from the mountain, from above. And the Vala is somewhere more in the cave, and has to be broken apart, and then usually they will say the cows come out, and always they say they drive them up, so as if you feel that cave is below. So Sri Aurobindo would call it the subconscious. And the cows come out, they are the rays of the sun, symbolically. The cows are, so to say, again the rays of intuition, of our inner knowledge, which has been, so to say, stolen in the darkness. When we take a body, we forget everything. Something is covered, and it's released. So I always feel this is also interesting in the Tantra, but also in Sri Aurobindo's yoga of ascent and descent, you see. So the cows come out, which are the rays of the sun, the dawn comes out, then the sun itself comes out of the darkness. And that will be the day will be revealed finally. But it's always, it has to be opened by the power of the mantra. And the Angirasha rishis are, so to say, the chanters of that mantra. And they are all powers of Agni. So it's a big topic. Sri Aurobindo maybe writes about 50 pages about this topic in The Secret of the Veda. He explores it, really very profound. You know. Because, but then you could also say, so much fuss, you think if it would be just another day, it can't be. As if they didn't know tomorrow the light will come back. So, of course, it must be at least outwardly in the ritual, it must relate to some solstice point, to some end of the year. But you see, he went so far, Tilak, no? Because of this imagery in the Veda, he says such a nature, how it is described here, is not existing in India. So that's why he talks about the Arctic origin of the Vedas. Because it's only in the Arctic that for 2 months there is no sun. And then you bring it out of the cave because it has gone below the horizon, you see. And then it will come up. So they'll talk about that long nights. So he would say maybe they have that image from there. Sri Aurobindo could say that memory might be there. That is possible also. No? But for him, obviously, because it's the truth, why do they always talk about the truth? And they even call it the thought, the true thought, you know, or the seven-headed thought. Obviously, for them, the main thing is the spiritual. It's something which has to do with knowledge and with the consciousness. You know, that's why the Veda is supposed to be the origin of all the spiritual texts in India, you see. So here he just makes these references, you know. And here he himself is called Angiras.
So in one sense, if an Angiras is somebody who is a seeker of truth, the translation could also be to each one of us are the Angiras.
Yes, while we are all sparks of that fire in a way also, right? Actually, it's very interesting what you say, because there's one hymn by Vamadeva that he will say, now may we become the Angiras. May we create the dawn, he says, you know. And Sri Aurobindo writes at the end of The Secret of the Veda, he says, but who in this age of iron will really take it, you know, take this up and like the Angiras, you know, search again for the light. Let again the Angiras act in him, so to say, right? So these are all powers, latent powers in the soul, which wait for us to call upon them, so to say, right? Right. So now we recite this together. Now look again at when you say mantra and no meaning, this is, of course, it's a total sentence, no? Because it starts with a relative, very typical in the Veda, yat, which, you know. And then he answers, tava etat, you know. So that good which you create, you know, yat anga dashushi tvam agni patram karishyasi. So which patra you are going to create for the giver, tave tat satyam angira. That is the truth of you. That is your truth. So it's not separate from the truth. Because that's why you ask the good things from the gods. You are not asking it from somewhere else. Because the gods are the powers of the light. Because even here he doesn't say, give me cows or horses or money or, you know, even that would be symbolic in the Veda, but he just says the Bhatram.
So it's in the it is Angira, but it is used written as Angiras.
No, that is, you can take it, that is in many ways because the Visarga by Panini is always treated as S. It is written as S, so they would say Devas. It theoretically is treated as S. But in grammatically, if you write it in the syntax, in the context, it will become visarga, angirach, right? Like manas, but if it comes in the sentence, it will be manach at the end of the sentence. It will be manas only in front of t. Anyway, it can become mano also. So these are the sandhi rules.
And when is it as
The visarga, the f, that will be only in front of pa. Only in front of pa. Yeah, that is, there are different ways of writing. Some scholars will always deal it with s. So they would say angiras, but if you decline it, it becomes angirach, angirao, angiras, like apsaras. We recite it. Shall we start? Yad anga da shushe tuam. Agni bhadram karishyasi. Tavet tat satyam angira. Nice. Yad anga da shushe tuam.
Yad anga shushe tuam.
Agni bhadram karishyasi.
Agne bhadram karishyasi.
Tavet tat satyam angira.
Tavet tat satyam angira.
Yad anga da shushe tuam. Agni bhadram karishyasi. Tavet tat satyam angira. Yad anga da shushe tuam.
Yad angada shushe tvam.
Agni bhadram karishyasi.
Agne bhadram karishyasi.
Tavet tat satyam angira.
Tavet tat satyam angira.
Yad anga. You tried alone usually? You save my voice?
Yes, ange dashushe tvam ange bhadra karishyasi tave tat satyam angira.
Yad anga da shushe tuam. Agni bhadram karishyasi. Tavet tat satyam angira. Yad anga da shushe tuam.
Yad anga dashushe tvam.
Agni bhadram karishyasi.
Agne bhadram karishyasi.
Tavet tat satyam angira.
Tave tat satyam angira.
Yad anga da shushe tuam. Agni bhadram karishyasi. Tavet tat satyam angira. Nice. Yad anga da shushe tuam.
Yad angada shushe tvam.
Agni bhadram karishyasi.
Agne bhadram karishyasi.
Tavet tat satyam angira.
Tavet tat satyam angira.
Yad angada shishe tuvam. Ange bhadram karishyasi. Tave tat satyam angira.
Nice. Good. So I go to the next. Dive dive dosha vastar dhyavayam namo bharanta evasi. To thee, O flame, day by day, we in the night and in the light come, carrying by our thought the obeisance. So, Uppa. Now can you see, when we talked about the Vedic grammar, Uppa here is in the front position. The verb to which it belongs is at the very last of the sentence, emasi. It's a emasi. So we come, Uppa comes first. Uppa, near to you, O Agni. Upadva Agni, near you, Agni. Dive, day by day. Dosha vastar. It can be translated by dosha, by the evening or night, and by the vastar, by the morning light. But it can also be taken as a vocative case of Agni himself. That means, O you who shine out in the night, which I find more suitable here actually. And then he says, Tiya vayam, by the ti, which means the thought or the understanding, the buddhi, we, namo, the namas, bharanta, we bring the namas. Emasi, we come to you. So the verb to come comes at the very end. So, but how do we come? We come to you, bearing with our thought the namas, which is also a very strange image. That's why Aurobindo says already in the first hymn of the Veda, you see that namas is not just that, So it is a surrender. I always translate it as surrender, and it always makes sense, totally. Because with our mind we bring you the namas, the respect, of course, the bending, but so you can really feel it. And they Namama. Yes. I don't know. Yes. So it's quite interesting here. But as I said before, in the classical Sanskrit, you would have to say, I even don't know this upa, which would be opamasi, upemasi. The u should be together with the a in front of the emasi. But here the a has joined the e, emasi, but not the upa. Because it's interesting, because he wants to say near you. Directly he starts with this, you see, near you. Upatva. So in your proximity, day after day, you who shine out, we bring our, so you could simply also say we recognize, in the day and in the night, or in always, we recognize you as our leading light, so to say. You are turning to the soul or to the inner guidance or to the antarjyoti or antaratma or chaitya purusha, you want to call it. We turn within, so to say, and surrender to you. That is also in the Veda, you will see some phrases, it's very powerful, very intensive, but also there is always that softness also, the bhakta, it's also there, very much so. These giant rishis like Vishwamitra, they will talk about Agni, 20 verses, how he is rising from the earth to the heaven, and he lies down in the unobstructed vast, and there he drinks the nectar of immortality. And then he says, after all this huge vision, he says, and I come to you with surrender. So we'll recite it again. Upadvagni dive dive.
Upadvagni dive dive.
Dosha vastar dhiya vayam.
Dosha vastar dhiya vayam.
Namo bharanta emasi.
Namo bharanta emasi.
Upatvagni dive dive.
Upatvagre dive dive.
Dosha vastar dhiya vayam.
Dosha vastar dhiya vayam.
Namo bharanta emasi.
Namo bharanta emasi.
Nice. Upadvagni dive dive.
Upadvagni dive dive.
Dosha vastar dhiya vayam.
Dosha vastar dhiya vayam.
Namo bharanta emasi.
Namo bharanta emasi.
Upattvagni dive dive doshavastar diya vayam namo varanta emasi.
Nice.
Upattvagre dive dive dosha vastara diya vayam namo bharanta emasi.
Upatvagne dive dive doshavastra diya vayam namo bharanta emasi.
उपत्वाग्ने दिवे दिवे दोषावस्तर धिया वयम नमो भरंत एमसि.
उपत्वाग्ने दिवे दिवे दोषावस्तर धिया वयम नमो भरंत एमसि.
उपत्वाग्ने दिवे दिवे दोषा वस्त्र दिया वयम नमो बरंत एमसि.
Right.
Upattvagne dive dive doshavastra yavaya namo bharanta emasi.
Nice.
Isha, dosha vastr.
Yes.
Can you help me understand?
So that's the thing. You see, it's interesting that Sayana Acharya says it means day and night, but there is another phrase usually like that. And here Sri Aurobindo takes it up, but I have put in an earlier translation, he also says, O dweller in the twilight, because you could take this as Vastri, as Kartri or Pitri. And so that's how it would be declined, Dosha Vastar, the one who, this is vocative case then, And because if it's in the beginning of the pada, it has an accent, O you who shine out, Dosha Vastri. O shiner at evening, or in the darkness, or illuminer of the darkness. No, there is dosha, you see, dosha and vastri. Vas, of course, to shine, right. The light when it breaks, right. Vastri. It's like Savitri, or Kartri.
So also see the dosha also mean
Fault later,
yeah.
Okay. But that's the thing, you see, in the classical later, this, because dosha means just that blurred evening light, which you can't see things clearly.
Yes.
Then already later it becomes a fault, a stain, because it's, then it's taken in this psychological sense only. So here I would still take it, but anyway, I will always take the material for the psychological, so it comes to the same, right.
Doshavastra can be, since the light is removing the darkness,
Yes.
removing the dosha.
Right, exactly. So when the soul comes, because that's what they say also, there is no moralization necessary, when the light comes, it removes that thing. It doesn't say, why did you do it, or it's wrong. If it answers you, when the light comes, actually naturally everything becomes clean, so to say. Probably sometimes Sri Aurobindo says the problem is sometimes when the dawn comes premature or the fire as a first opening, it's a call. And then it comes out and everything is light and you wonder about your own life. How was it? I was in such a mess before and I feel so good today. And next, maybe even for a whole year, you are on that sunlit path. And then something happens and it withdraws. And then he says, and you are left with all the chunk and the thing, like the rain has washed all the chunk up on the road, meaning. So it's still the work needs to be done. So
that's a lot of experience comes, goes.
Right. So these are the cycles actually in the Veda, very typical, dawn and night. And both nourished a child, you see. Because also when you ask me for dosha, because also Ratri usually in the Veda means, Ratri means the shining one. So the Ratri usually in the Veda means the night in which already Agni burns, which the stars are there is a moon. It is not tamas. That's why tamas is usually the dullness, the total darkness, There is even a hymn to the night in the Rig Veda where it says, the night has come, she is repelling the tamas. Can you imagine? Very interesting. Yes. The night has come with eyes which look all over. What are these eyes, these lights, Maybe the fires in the village or the stars in the sky. But she dispels the darkness. So there is a kind of, I would always call it, there's a subconscious mother, which protects us in sleep, which holds all our good things that we don't lose them, you see. Because if they go into tamas, then we might have lost them. But there is something who keeps our experience and carries it on. They will say the Ratri opens her womb for the dawn to come, and the dawn opens the womb for the sun to come. So they will say like that, "Oh dawn, bring the sun like the night has opened out for you."
Very interesting, because usually the common analogy of darkness is something which is very, like you said, tamasik.
Yes, when there is no light.
Sucks your energy off.
Yes.
Whereas this, the analogy of night, actually has light.
Right. The night has a light already.
There's moonlight.
Yes, for example.
It's
Very,
more
yes.
rekindling actually.
Yes.
That's very different.
That's why even they talk about this symbolism, there are different nights and there are different lights in the nights, and they will say, Agni, you have 3 kindlings. We kindle you here, and you are kindled in the new moon, and you are kindled in the dawn, and so you take it in so many ways. So here, it's interesting, the syntax, so to say, goes on, because he says, we are come to you, he says, Upatva Agni, we come towards you, O Agni. Now he goes on right the way with the object, with the accusative case. To you who are whom? You are the Rajantam. Atvaranam, Gopam, Ritasya, Divim, Vartamanam, Svedame. So here these are all accusatives without a verb. So the verb is already from the previous verse. So the sentence goes on. To thee who are reigning over the Advara Yajnas, over the pilgrim sacrifices, the Gopa, who is Didivi, the shining guardian of the truth, Ritasya, Vartamanam Svedame, who grows in his own home.
What is that pilgrim sacrifice? What does it mean?
Yeah, that's what the term Sri Aurobindo has coined. He calls it, our life is a pilgrimage. The whole sacrifice is a pilgrimage. The soul is the pilgrim who is searching for the light, in the darkness, so to say. In that way, because Advara I was putting, to me it means advancing sacrifice. There's a progression, so to say. That's why here, the Advara is used later on. Here in that hymn it says Advara Yajna, but afterwards only Advara. It's a synonym for Yajna. And that's why Sri Aurobindo says it cannot only mean that which is not hurt. It must have a strong, more powerful meaning to be used as a synonym for such a term, which is very universal and comes all the time in the Veda. So in our progress, I would really say in our progress, you reign over our progress, because our progress is, of course, what we just talked about, the day and the night, a little bit up, a little bit down. Digesting, sleeping, again waking up, in that sense. These are the rhythms, the cycles, like our physical existence on this earth needs so far night, no? Imagine if night would not be there. We could not subsist, we could not exist without night, so to say.
The combination pilgrim and sacrifices, it feels very artificial.
I don't know for you. It's of course it's a strange term why he coined it like this, pilgrim sacrifice, right? He wanted to do something.
Yeah, so the soul is a pilgrim, it's doing sacrifice. So the
Yes.
Advaram is your life in which you are constantly progressively sacrificing.
Yes, yes, absolutely, right.
No, I think there's perfect synchrony in this.
You are
The two concepts.
you are all the time you're sacrificing, inviting the life.
The pilgrimage is the
Ongoing,
sacrifice.
ongoing advancing.
It's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think here sacrifice also should be understood in a different way.
Because
It's not
yes,
like a resistive letting go of something. There is a volunteer shedding of darkness itself.
yes,
I let go of this, maybe my writing. Let go of that.
yes. But you could even take it as the karma yoga of the Gita. Whatever you do it as a sacrifice. Even Krishna says it. This is the karma yoga. You do it as an offering. And you see, and he, if you do that, he protects you, no? He inspires you in that actually. Who makes us search the light, actually, and who walk on the path? Again, it is that inner Agni who is actually impelling us to do it. Who brought us to where we are? Why did we wake up at some point and went on search? You know? So I feel that is the Agni itself is that. So that's why he's called the luminous guardian, you know, who shines of the truth, who shines over our past. And also there is this very interesting phrase, Vartamanam Svedame. He grows in his own home. And everybody translates that is the household fire, that is the own home of Agni. And Sri Aurobindo says very clearly, his home is the truth, the right and the truth, the truth consciousness, that is his home. And then you would say, you could even say symbolically, because they will say when he rises from the earth to the antariksha, the midworld, to the heaven, and to the higher heaven, and to the world of light, there in the shoreless vast, they call it, you know, Anibade Uru Anibade, and the shoreless wideness, he lays down in his own home, Svedame, you know. Or they will say Agni, sacrifice to the gods, sacrifice to the truth, to the vast, sacrifice to your own home. And sacrifice means again, connect us with this. So in that way, yes, his own. But why should he grow in his own home? That is very interesting. That is this idea like the immortal grows with the body. Because you could say when he is here in us, connecting to his home, he also grows. Because one more soul spark has joined him, so to say. Because he's the fire from whom we are all the sparks. So each one, so to say, of that oneness, no, you could say that oneness becomes conscious.
Yes. Instead of being in the background.
Right. Then he even grows in his own home. You can, you know, say.
Even the lightning ignites more of the flame. I don't know if that is.
Yes, the lightning, it has a particular context there, right. Yes.
But Veda uses it as Indra, we were discussing.
Yes. That's that flash of intuition also, you could say. Right, it's like a revelation in a way to see. There is the, yes? Reigness, from Raja to rule, reign. But you know, even this Raj, it means also to illumine. But since he is already called Divi, which means shining, D, like Deepa, you know, so the D comes from that. It is the origin from that. So he is already the luminous guardian of the truth, so he calls him reigning over there. Because that reigning, that ruling is, I mean, probably he doesn't want to say ruling because it feels like a dominance. And it's not that, you know. He is just also, how do you say, because that it's also an inspiration. It's a guidance, it's a light, you know. But you could also say if he is in charge, if he is the ruler of our inner life, that itself is a protection against the obstructing forces, because they are the powers of tamas and darkness who don't want to change. So there is also opposition. And in the Veda you have also powers which oppose, which want to separate, divide, or keep us apart from the light. So in that way you could say he is also the ruler on that yajna, under whose cart we can grow. So shall we recite it? Rajantam Advaranam Gopam Ritasya Didivim Vardhamanam Svedame.
Rajantam Advaranam Gopam Ritatsya Didivim Vardhamanam Svedame.
Rajandam Advaranam Gopam Ritasya Didivim Vardhamanam Svedame.
Very nice, except don't forget the long and short, Didivim, because the meter also chooses the long and short for the movement. Good. You go on.
Rajantam Advaranam Gopam Tasya Didi Vim
Right, Divim.
Vardhamanam Swegdavim.
Right.
Rajantam Ad Parana Gopalam Ritasya Di Divim Vardhamana Swegdavim.
Rajantam Advarana Gopam Tasya Divim Vardhamanam Swegdavim.
Rajantam Advaranam Gopam Ritasya Didivam Vardhamanam Swedam.
Rajantam Advaranam Gopam Ritasya Didivam Vardhamanam Swedam.
Rajantam Advaranam Gopam Kutasya Divim Vardhamanam Swedami.
Rajantam Advaranam Gopam Ritasya Didivim Vardhamanam Svedam.
So we'll go to the last one. Sa naf piteva sunave agne supayano bhava sajasvanah suastaye. So therefore be easy of access to us as the Father unto his Son. Cling to us for our happy state. So that's also typical in the Vedic text way of expressing. They will start a sentence, I don't know in classical if it's still there, they say sa, he. But you won't translate it. Aurobindo translates therefore. Some will say as such, as he, you, It's strange that they will say he, you. Then it's usually taken such as you, that means you really. So truly, therefore, having said all that, so to say, to us, piteva, pitta iva, like a father, to the son, sunavi. So this is sunu, which I'm always telling, this is again like in English, in German, son, the son, in German the Sohn. The only thing the u becomes o, which in Sanskrit is very natural. You can always change u into o. The soon, soon.
But in Hindi, it's no longer there. The word for a son.
Yes.
Word.
Also, interesting. So you also use that more. You don't say putra.
Yeah, in Hindi it's still there, associated with the son, the su.
Son is
The child.
The child, okay.
That is suputra.
Oh, that will be a prefix, right? This is, but it's interesting that su sound. Okay,
So
yes.
the su it's left with English and German.
Yes,
But
exactly.
in Hindi, it is not there.
Yes, interesting. So some preference they have changed it into some other. Yes. No, and it's interesting also because in German also the sonne, the son. In English also the child and the son. And Sri Aurobindo will say that when we come tomorrow to the Savitri hymn, the Rishi, he plays with this su root because Soma has also that root. So su means to create something, to produce, but also the Soma is also produced, or even to impel something, set something in motion. So it's very interesting. There's a lot of suggestion in this, why they use sunu, right. Maybe the child which has been created, but the son is also called the creator, So anyway, so this I say these are the similarities which have remained in that language, whereas in Sanskrit it moved ahead and choose some other term as a preference. But that's the unique thing in Sanskrit, which has not survived in English and German except for how many few centuries, that the language has text through all the stages of its growth. So you have so many texts in Sanskrit which use the same word in a different context, because already either it belonged to a different time or a different system of thought. So the language is very vast in that sense. But also, as I say, it has survived in all its different stages, preferences of vocabulary. Whereas in Europe, actually none would know even Old English or Gothic German. Nobody would understand anymore, which was spoken in the 12th century. No German would understand Gothic anymore, which is even closer to Sanskrit. And by the way, I noticed my Bavarian accent also is still closer to Sanskrit. So the accents of the people, the colloquial, it's not even colloquial, it's different areas, where people speak, they preserve more old language. They keep older forms of the language, which is then closer to Sanskrit again than High German. So like the father to his son, O Agni, be su upa ayana. You see, now you have two words joined to su upa ayana. Ayana means approach, but and su upa, so be easy to come near it, be easy approachable, be easy to come close. So Sri Aurobindo translates easy of access. Bhava, become that, like a father to the son, you see. And then sajasva, so such means, that is also such like attached, to be close. It means almost to accompany us, So he says cling to us, such. And to swasti, and that's also very interesting because the word swasti is suasti, and in the Veda most of the time it's in such a position in the poetry that you have to speak it suasti, otherwise again one syllable will be missing. So here also sajasvanah suastaye, then it's complete. And it comes hundreds of times, and always it comes at a place where only 7 are there. That's how the scholar know you should speak suasti, then only it will be, the meter will be perfect.
Because happy su is positive and happy.
Yes, perfect. Suasti, right. It's already there. So meaning you can in classical, it will be like that. If u and a meet, you have to speak it as swa. You join it, they collide. But you can also keep it separate. And that's what the rishis do. It's not a rule, you understand. The poet could use either way. But 95% swasti will be always suasti in the Veda. So we'll recite it. And then I think we should have a break. Sanaf pideva sunave. So also here you see I put the a back, otherwise that syllable will be missing. Agne supayano bhava. Sajasvanah suastaye. Sajasvanah.
Sajasvanah suastaye.
Right. Sanaf piteva sunave.
Sana piteva sunave.
Agne supayano bhava.
Agne supayano bhava.
Sajasvanah suastaye.
Sajasvana suvastaye.
Sanaf piteva sunave.
Sana Pideva Sunami.
Agne supayano bhava.
Agni Supayano Bhava.
Sajasvanah suastaye.
Sajaswanaha Swasti.
Suastaye. Right. Now you see with the Visarga the same thing. Now in the classical period the Visarga became habitual to be pronounced as aha. Now if I would do this in the Veda, I would always create another extra syllable. That would also be too much, like some will be missing, some would be too much. That's why I don't pronounce it. I don't say sanaha piteva sunave. I'm no more in this sanaf piteva. I will come out of this Gayatri meter. That's why I don't pronounce the aha. because that also has become a habit. Now they teach you like that, of course, in the classical. So we go on.
Sana Piteva Sunave Agni Supayaro Bhava Sachaswa Na Swastaye.
Sana Piteva Sunave Agne Supayano Bhava Sajasvana Swastave.
Great. That's, you almost speak it, which is enough. You see, it's just a small suggestion. Yes, because you can lengthen it.
Sana pite sunave agne supayano bhava sajasvana suvaste.
Nice.
Sana Piteva Sunave Agni Supayano Bhava Sajasvana Suvastaye.
Sana Piteva Sunave Agne Supayano Bhava Sajasvana Suvastaye.
Great.
Sana Piteva Sunave Agne Supaya No Bhava Sachasvana Suvastaya.
So I will just recite it, the whole hymn shortly, just to get the sense of the poetry. Even poetically, this hymn is not so easy. I always felt it. I don't know why. I would choose dozens of Gayatri more easy than this one. He has a very particular style, but still, I think when we hear it in one go, we'll get better into the poetry. Agnim ile purohitam yajnasya devam rudvijam hotaram ratnadhatamam agnif purvebhir rishibhir idio nutanair uta sa devang eha bakshati agni narayim ashnavat posham eva dive dive yashasam viravattamam agneyam yajnam atvaram vishvataf paribhur asi said deveshu gacchati agnir hota kavi kratuh sadyash chidrash ravastamach devo devebhir agamat yadangada shushe tuam agne bhatram karishyasi tave tatsatyam angira upatvagne dive dive doshavastar diyavayam namo bharanta emasi rajantam atvaranam gopam ritasya didivim Vardamanam suvedami Sanaf piteva sunave Agne supayano bhava Sajasvanah suastaye